Hey guys, welcome back. The footage for this week is Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War 2. And I've decided that I'm going to release episodes once a week unless there's a dry news week. First of all, Tribes Ascend launches next month, to be specific, April 12th. And they released a badass trailer that I'm going to show you right now.
Get the enemy flag! Oh, that's too bad. The enemy's in our base! Defend the flag carrier! I'll go for the enemy flag.
That's one of the rather good and straightforward video game trailers I've seen in quite some time. Can't wait for the release. In other video game news, CD Projekt will never use DRM again, says the CEO. That's right, people. Someone finally gets it. And he was quoted saying, "We released the game. It's cracked in 2 hours. It was no time for The Witcher 2. What really surprised me is that the pirates didn't use the GOG version, which was not protected. They took the secure ROM retail version, cracked it, and said, 'We cracked it.' Meanwhile, there's a non-secure version with a simultaneous release. You'd think the GOG would be the one floating around." Now let's move on to one more video game news before I move on to some hardware. And it's the reason I'm trying to get this episode out as soon as possible, as you can play The Old Republic for free this weekend. The free trial runs from Thursday, March 15th at 12:01 a.m. CDT until Monday, March 19th at 2 a.m. CDT, and requires no payment information to get started. The content is, however, limited, as the press release states that it only involves the opening adventures of each of the 8 classes, exploring both their origin world and their faction's capital world. Players will additionally be able to jump into PvP war zones and be able to play through the Essless and Black Talon flashpoints. But that's not the only news with the Old Republic. Patch 1.2 is also coming out pretty soon. And I could list out all of the new features that they're packing into this update, but I think the trailer would do much better. Here it is. Now that's a pretty impressive list of new features if I do say so myself. And now we'll move right along to hardware with some new GeForce GTX 680 pictures that have surfaced on the internet. As you can see here, the outer casing hasn't really changed all that much, except for the PCIe power connectors are now on top of each other instead of side by side, but we'll get a better picture of that in a second. I'm not really sure why they did this or what made them think it would be better. I would have much rather had it on the back of the card so that it was closer to the motherboard and you wouldn't have wires going like half a foot into your computer case. But, whatever. And now that we've taken the cooler off, you can see that it really hasn't changed all that much. It's still a vapor chamber, and here's another picture with a GTX 580 with its cooler off, and it doesn't look all that much different. Now moving along to the board itself, you can see that a few things have changed. VRMs have been turned around, and the die itself is considerably smaller than it was on the Fermi cards. You can also notice that there is a display port, mini HDMI port, and what looks like to be 2 DVI ports, but I can't be certain. Now moving along, Cooler Master has released a CPU cooler that is similar to the Corsair H100 that everybody's familiar with, but not quite. Cooler Master says that the pump is powerful enough to simultaneously serve 4 CPU blocks and 4 GPU blocks, and also mentions that it is German manufactured with ceramic bearings and that its normal operating speed is 1500 RPM and a maximum speed of 3000 RPM, and that the cooling fluid can be refilled, and the kit uses standardized fittings as you can connect third-party components. It comes in 2 models with a 120mm and 240mm copper radiator. Now moving on to the last article of the week. AsRock has released their Z77 boards, and I'm going to have a look at the Z77 Professional, the Fatality branded motherboard by them. Now in my current computer I have the Z68 version of this, and I'll tell you right now that not much has changed, but I can already say that this is my Z77 board of choice, as this has to be one of the most fully featured boards I have ever seen. Let me just run down the specs with you. It has premium gold caps, digi-power design, 16 plus 8 phase power, supports dual channel DDR3 2800 MHz overclocked memory, has 2 PCIe 3.0 16x slots, supports dual PCIe gigabit LAN with teaming. So the easiest way to explain dual gigabit teaming is if you populated both slots to your router and enabled the function, you would have 2 gigabit LAN. Now I could keep going down the list of features this motherboard has, but basically it has pretty much every single feature but dual BIOSes. I mean, it has 10 SATA ports, for crying out loud. And after using the Z68 version of this motherboard, the only thing I can complain about is the Fatality branding all over the place. Well, that's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe for more nerd, geek, and tech news. Also computer tips, software overviews, and tweaks.
If you pleasure in war, then you shall face an army.
None may harm the Farseer so long as we live.
Turn fire, brother!
Hostiles purged.
for battle.
We have battled enough for now, I think. I have other tasks to attend to on this doomed planet.
She's escaping!
I admit I have enjoyed this dalliance, humans. I may even miss you when you are ash and cinders.
Ash and cinders. Tyranids drain worlds of life. They do not burn them.